So, do you want to start the interview?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Perfect, Dylan. Well, I'm presenting myself with you. I'm Aaron AJ Navarro here from Mexico City, from the media Cine NT, and we're going to talk about this wonderful, pretty wiki wacky, like you described it very well, short called Shrimp Fried Rice, which is premiering right now at Fantasia. So, first of all, where did you got the idea, the inspiration? Where was the moment when you thought I need to make this?
Well, so it happened one night a couple years ago. I had I just had this, idea that like maybe what if the shrimp actually fried the rice, you know? And it's I don't know how much time you spend on the internet, but I spend a lot of time on the internet. And there's this collection of internet memes of shrimp frying rice. The it's a dad joke of like, the play on words and just a joke that's gone around the internet. But it's always been, Photoshop, it's been drawings, it's been stuff like that. And I thought to myself, what if we actually did it in like a film? And like, what if he had a story? And like, what if he had, what if he was an asshole? Like, what if he just was a total jerk of a person or shrimp? Um, and so anyway, I was like, a little under the influence one night, and I'm having this idea. I'm like in bed getting ready to sleep, and I'm typing on my phone, and my girlfriend looks at me and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What if the shrimp actually fried the rice?" And she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like she didn't get it, but the next morning I looked at my phone and I was like, "Hey, that's not half bad." So I reached out to a good friend of mine, Michael Turk, the co-writer of the film, and we just kind of got to writing and we're trying to figure out how far we could push the joke.
That's a great story. Tell me a little bit about deciding on the fact that it is a mockumentary, because I think that's also very interesting. Talking about a mockumentary, not also about the asshole shrimp like you just called it, but also about the
Yeah.
the chef that is really wanting to make a difference, but is dominated by this shrimp that doesn't let him go.
Yeah, the mockumentary decision was kind of based on how do we get into this world as fast as we can. Right? I don't want to have to. It's a short film. It had to be quick. It had to be straight to the point. So the mockumentary idea was kind of the best way, I think, to explore these characters quickly and efficiently, and so we could get straight to the jokes and stuff like that. And um, we wanted it to be more than just a comedy, right? Like obviously that's what it is, but we wanted it to have some heart as well. And it couldn't just be the shrimp, like it couldn't just be the shrimp frying rice like that. That's great, but what happens after that?
Yeah.
And so it was important for us to really, bring in, his counterpart, and that's Dave, the chef, who is, an illegal immigrant who is in this abusive relationship
Yeah.
with the shrimp, his employer. And we just thought it'd be so funny if this tiny little animal is, just abusing a full-size human in the kitchen. And so, yeah, we felt like we were familiar with the mockumentary genre as well. Um, Myself and Michael wrote a short film years ago, a mockumentary about, I don't know if you're familiar with the Mini Pop Kids or Kids Bop.
Yeah, I think.
But they're based. Yeah. Okay. So we did a mockumentary about Michael himself being a member of we call them the mini pop kids in Canada, Kids Bop in the US. I'm sure every country has their version of it. But yeah, Michael being a member of the mini pop kids, a bunch of children who sing pop song covers for other kids. Um, and yeah, it's just, something we're familiar with, the mockumentary genre. And again, it just felt like the best way to tell this story.
Also, tell me a little bit about. I mean, there's the documentary and the comedy, but I noticed that there are some scenes, there's some sequences where the cooking is pretty awesome. I mean, it almost seems like this movie that talks also about food. Like I remember Babette's Feast and some other famous that are nothing to do with shrimp fried rice, but it has that kind of essence of also that the food is really important. Tell me a little bit about that, Dylan.
Yeah, cinematography I think is a very important part of my work. I'm a very visual director. So I've been working with my cinematographer Marco Diacides for a long time. He's so skilled, so talented, and we talked about, what this film was going to look like. And one of the things we really wanted to do was start the film off in a more serious tone, kind of feeling like if you didn't read the synopsis, you're not really sure what you're getting into because it's this beautiful food montage. We were trying to emulate Chef's Table and all those beautiful
Yeah.
documentary series. Um, and yeah, we really wanted to kind of blindside the audience. You see this beautiful food montage to start, you think, oh, we're getting a food documentary or, something more serious like that. And then suddenly we're making crazy jokes with a shrimp. So, it was, um, we were strong believers that like just because it's a comedy doesn't mean it needs doesn't mean it can't look beautiful as well.
Yeah.
So we did our best to give it a very stylized documentary look on top of the reality TV portions, and kind of like contrasting those two worlds of like, beautiful documentary and competition cooking TV, and just making sure that like it was very distinguishable between the two.
And I think it works great. Tell me a little bit also about, well, the shrimp, because I think that designing the puppet and making it work out in the scenes, I think it has been maybe a little fun, but also kind of difficult. So tell me a little bit about it, about the process of the shrimp.
Yeah, working with puppets was a joy and a challenge. It was my first time working with puppets,
Yeah.
but thankfully we had a fantastic, experienced team. Big shout out to our puppeteers, Tree Dragon Films, Benjamin Fishy Rose, our shrimp puppeteer, Marty Stelnick, who also voiced the shrimp. Um, yeah, it was technically and logistically challenging. When we first brought on Ben and his team, um, they described working with puppets similar to working with children and animals because of how long it can take to get things filmed. Just because, there's a lot of like physical labor involved
Yeah.
in puppeteering, and just like something that I didn't realize when we first started working with them was the limitations of filming with puppets. And, I think the general audience doesn't really notice this because people hide it so well. But, like there is a person underneath the frame of the camera, like puppeting the character. So trying like, speaking about the decision to make it a mockumentary, that proved to be quite contradictory with puppets
Yeah.
because puppets need some like the puppeteer needs to hide behind something. They need to, have a very defined frame in which they can exist. And the mockumentary, especially, with all the zooms and the shaky cameras and stuff like that, like the spontaneous nature of it all. was difficult because you had to hide your puppeteers as well. And so there was a lot of choreography between the camera team and the puppet team and making sure that like we weren't exposing ourselves. Every time we moved the camera, it had to be deliberate and strategic and choreographed. So it definitely was a challenge, but it was very cool to see it all come together. There's one shot in the film, seemingly a very, harmless shot, but it's a shot when right before the shrimp and Dave go to confront the rat minion. There's a shot of him and the shrimp walking from one end of the kitchen to the other, and that shot alone just provided, us with so many headaches of like just trying to figure out how do we hide our puppeteers who are on the ground, below us. So every zoom in there was, put in there so that our puppeteers could like crawl across the kitchen
Wow.
without being seen and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it was so much fun. Ben and the team did a great job. Designing the puppets was a lot of fun. Uh, they were asking so many questions that I didn't even think about. Like, one of the first questions Ben asked me when we were designing the puppets was, "What kind of shrimp is he?" And I was like, "I don't know, a shrimp? Like, what do you mean?" And he said,
Yeah.
"Oh no, but like I need to know like what species of shrimp he is so that
Yeah.
I can like." He's trying to make him, anatomically correct.
Yeah.
And that just shows his love and attention to detail. But yeah, just, it was a lot of fun trying to figure out what kind of character he was, his facial shape, his eyebrows, his mouth shape, like all these things to like really give him a personality, and a visual indication of what kind of character he was.
Totally. And tell me a little bit about picking up his rival, because every great chef has a rival, obviously, a nemesis. And I love the fact that it's that little rat of that peculiar big shot movie. We're not going to mention it here either, but tell me a little bit about that the cool decision, because I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of said rat who will not be named. That's one of my favorite characters and obviously an inspiration for the film and um again it was one of those things of like, okay, the shrimp fries the rice and now what, right? And part of it was like, okay, well, why is he so angry? Like why is he such an asshole? And the funniest thing we could come up with was, what if he's jealous? What if he has what if he is the opposite of said rat? And um really contrast the characters there and give him like another counterpart to uh, being an animal who controls a human to make food and just kind of adding to the universe in which this kind of thing happens. We really wanted to play in that world and just like give ourselves like a universe to play in and really wanted to make sure that the shrimp had his, opposite and equal and something to fight against, I guess.
That was a bright decision. So I love the fact that you mentioned at the beginning a very interesting metaphor talking about not the shrimp but the chef. He's an immigrant. He's got his past. He's exploded in a way by the shrimp. But I think there's a very interesting metaphor too. If we take the shrimp out, that maybe because I know a lot of immigrants, Mexican immigrants, Asian immigrants, all kind of them, kind of all work in a kitchen in New York, in Canada, everywhere. So I think that's a very interesting metaphor too that you managed to develop over there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a real problem here in Canada and obviously the US, especially for I know it's a huge problem for Mexican immigrants, and here, we have all sorts of immigrants in here in Toronto, who are unfortunately exploited, for their undocumented status, and it's something we wanted to bring to light, and give our character, like a deeper backstory than just being a chef. But yeah, it's something that we felt was important. It's unfortunate that, people are treated that way, and especially with, how contentious things are in the US right now. Um, but, we really wanted to give this community a win. We wanted them to be the heroes in this scenario. And um, you know, I felt like our actor Jeff Young, who plays Dave, did an amazing job of really portraying that character, and making us feel sympathetic to him,
Yeah.
and how difficult that life can be. It's certainly not great how exploitative the system has become, but this is just our little gesture of trying to support them and that community.
I loved it. I love that they can have this win because it's as you said, it's very necessary in this time. So tell me a little bit, talking about wins. Uh, your debut in Fantasia with this marvelous and very funny and even heartfelt short. Tell me, how do you feel about it? How does the panorama for you? For Do you have any other plans besides showing it on Fantasia? Do you have any other short films coming on this way, or maybe a long feature in a way? What are your plans for you, Dylan?
Well, first off, we're super excited to be at Fantasia. I think Fantasia is an amazing festival. We're so happy that they've decided to include us in this year's program, and they have always have such an amazing lineup and
Yeah.
collection of talented filmmakers, at the festival. So we feel very honored to be there. Myself and our producer Sang, and our cinematographer Marco, and our puppeteer Ben will all be there, to be there for the premiere. As for the future for the film, we're hoping to do a longer festival run. There's some other festivals that are upcoming, and we're hoping to show it to as many people as we can. It's a fun film. It's crazy. It's weird, and I really hope that people enjoy it. We're really excited to see an audience's live reaction in the theater. So that's very exciting. We have some other stuff in the works too. Um, Myself and Sang are in development for another short film. It's a martial arts,
Okay.
wuxia inspired film about a woman and her mother-in-law fighting over the dinner bill, to the death. So it's high flying, action packed, like Jackie Chan type of thing, with the cables and wires, and fights in midair and stuff like that. So that one's currently in the works, and then we're also currently developing a feature. It's a crime thriller set here in Toronto, surrounding the Chinese community here. Sorry, Chinese Vietnamese community. So yeah, lots of stuff in the works. Hopefully, more to come, and hopefully more festivals to attend.
That's great. And then for my last question for this talk, I would like to ask you about the importance of making short films because I know that there's a problem when you talk about the projection that they got. If it's not in festivals, it's harder for people to watch a short film. But it's undeniable to anyone who loves filmmaking and movies that short films are the base, the ones that open the doors, the ones that are the first step to be the maybe the next name, right? So tell me a little bit about how do you feel about that importance of the short films? Why do you like making short films, and what does that had teach you to, I don't know, reach maybe the other goals, right?
Yeah, I mean, short films are. super important for any young emerging filmmaker. I think that short films are, you know, they're a training ground. They're, something that allows you to prove what you're able to do. But I think most importantly, like with short films, it's about developing your sensibilities and your style
Yeah.
as a director. I think that once you get into the feature world where, budgets are much bigger, or at least I hope they are, and you have other investors and other financial parties involved, um, it's a lot harder, I think, to try stuff and take risks, creative risks, right? I think that in short films, like it's the one time I think in a filmmaker's career where they can do anything they want without the risk of upsetting anyone or someone telling them no. Like you can try anything, and I think that's a great time for filmmakers to experiment and figure out what they like, what they don't like, and have it, translate to the screen and allow them to have that experience on set. So, shrimp fried rice for us was an opportunity to showcase our, comedic abilities and try something new with puppets and stuff like that. And the next film, which is titled Dynasty Garden, the martial arts one, that's another opportunity for us to play with, action choreography and stunts and stuff like that. And but as filmmakers, we want to try a little bit of everything, and I think short films are our opportunity to prove that we can do these things. And so when we get to our features, that we can point to these short films as proof of what we're trying to do.
Totally. Well, Dylan, thank you for this talk, this interview. I hope you enjoyed. I really enjoyed watching
I really
shrimp fried
enjoyed it.
rice, and I hope
Oh,
maybe I don't
thank
know
you.
in this crazy world when sequels are abounding, maybe we can see the revenge of the shrimp every time.
Oh yes, we've already come up with the title. It's called Shrimp Fried Twice.
That will be awesome. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you so much for this
I really
interview,
appreciate the chat. Yes, thank you.
and very good luck in Fantasia. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You
Bye.
too. Bye.